Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's promising to be a magnificent morning here in Sydney town. As you can see, the Coral Princess has just docked up over there at the International Passenger Terminal, and we have the glorious Opera House, and we have the sunrise crowning there in the east on the horizon. And what I'd like to do today is to continue my tradition of Jim's 5am Club, where I go through and deliver yet another book summary to add to the 1,567 vlogs that I've accumulated and amassed to date, and they're available on my YouTube channel, Jim's 5am Club. What I absolutely love doing is taking a walk and talk so that we can both celebrate the beauty of this wonderful place that we live in. It's not every day that you get to see a sunrise in the most beautiful city in the world, a city that has not one but two magnificent monuments in the form of the Opera House, and when we swing across we have the grandeur of the Great Harbour Bridge. Anyway, as you can see, the sun's coming up, and what I'd like to do, as I mentioned, is to go through a book summary today. And the book that I'm going to be talking about is entitled Outlive, a book written by a doctor who is a longevity specialist. So what I'll do is I'll just come over here and just put my stuff down and deliver the vlog from this beautiful vantage point. So the book, as I mentioned, is entitled Outlive by an author named Attia, who's a doctor, and once again just reinforcing that he claims to be a longevity specialist, so somebody who can help us think and act in ways that may be able to assist us in those later years in life, for those who are fortunate to be able to live longer than the average. Peter, in his book, makes it very clear from the beginning that in today's society, and he adds in today's unhealthy society, normal or average is not the same as optimal. So what Peter wants to do in his book here, understanding that a book is an opportunity for somebody to do a deep dive, to do some deep thinking, and to capture all of their skill, all of their observations, all of their research over years of practice, and make it available in a simple form for you and I to be able to read, to talk about, and hopefully to incorporate into our lives. And he says that as a starting point, that powerful exercise can be a pseudo drug, but also to remember that emotional health is just as important as exercise, nutrition, and sleep. So what we'll do in this book summary today is go through those 3 or 4 pillars and examine them in a bit of depth to understand a little bit better how exercise, nutrition and sleep can help us live a longer and healthier life. It's not about just living a longer life. The key is to live a healthier and a better life. So as we go into those more senior and advanced years, we can be self-sufficient to a certain extent, and we can continue to enjoy the beauty of our relationships as well as the beauty of this environment, this gift from God that we live in here in Australia. But also, regardless of where you live, everywhere is a gift of God, and you can make the most of your home country, and the beauty that abounds. The first key point to come from this author is a call to action, and a pretty clever call to action as well. I like this. And he says that we basically all need to put together our own list of exercises that we'd like to be able to continue on a daily basis. And he calls it your centurion decathlon. So to pick 10 exercises or 10 movements that you want to be able to do well into the later years of your life. So it needs a bit of thought, it needs a bit of commitment. But once again, it is clever. And he says that you don't have to do it from now for when you're 100 years old. What you need to do is you need to think now 20 years ahead and ask yourself, what would I ideally be able or want to do 20 years from now, and what could I do starting now to be able to build that range of movement and to have that capability so that I can enjoy a much, much better quality of life. So it's all about sustainability, a sustainable way to exercise. And as I said, we need to make a list, our own personal list. Your list is going to be different to mine, and it's going to be different from other people, because we all are different, as we know, not only from each other, but we're all different for each other. So the author here talks about making a list of 10 movements that you'd still like to be able to do at 100, and basically understanding that it doesn't need to be extensive, it doesn't need to be hard, it doesn't need to be long, but you basically need to push, bend your body on a daily basis to be able to do the things later on in life. You know, you just don't wake up one day and decide that I need to be more flexible, or I need to be stronger, or I need to be healthier. It's something that you need to do every day over many, many years to get the gift for later on in life. And Peter here says, and I like this as well, that you don't need a lot of time, especially these days where most people tend to be time poor. Even a 15-minute workout can potentially add quality years to your life. And I've added in there potentially and quality years, because we don't want to live to 100 and not be healthy. The key here is to try and get there with your health intact, or to try and get there with as much health intact, both physical, emotional, spiritual, and I think I've left one off there, but it'll come to me again shortly. But we need to try and find a balance in our health, including, I think, mental. Did I say mental before? So once again, the call to action is to write down the 10 things that you want, and to still be able to do later on in life. So I think that's enough of that point there. Let's move on to the next key message, the next key learning from this book, from this author. The second point that the author makes, and once again, it's not rocket science. It doesn't need to be rocket science for it to be effective. As Anthony Robbins said over the past few days, I was fortunate enough to attend the Anthony Robbins UPW program from Thursday to Sunday. Unleash Your Power Within seminar. And he said that it's important for things to be simple in order for you to A, understand them, and B, to be able to implement them. So this is one of the beauties of this author. Peter is well able to put these things in a very simplified form. And he says that when it comes to eating, and I hadn't quite considered this before, but we need to try eating less as we're getting older, not more. Eating less, but eating what is good for you and things that are going to improve your health rather than take away from your health. So he talks about eating restrictions. Given that we need to eat less in order to live longer, he talks about 3 specific eating restrictions that we need to consider. And he says, and he makes this point over and over again, that eating less is the simplest thing we can do that has the biggest impact on our health and on our ability to live longer. The problem that we have in the world is we tend to have far too much choice. We've got too much choice, we've got too many foods, and we've got too many bad foods to choose from as well. So let's examine just for the moment what these restrictions may look like. And he says the 3 restrictions, and he lists them here, are a caloric restriction, a dietary restriction, or time restrictions, or a mix of those 3. You can pick and choose how you want to go about it. The caloric restriction is basically where you count your calories and you limit yourself, you limit what you intake on a daily basis based on what limit you've come up with in terms of number of calories that you eat. To be successful at this, of course, you need to be disciplined, you need to measure, you need to weigh, and you need to be, I think, honest with yourself as well. The other point that he talks about is the dietary restriction. And the dietary restriction is where you basically exclude certain foods or certain things from your diet, such as carbs and unhealthy fats, certain types of processed foods, soft drink, alcohol, cigarettes, sweets, and all of the stuff that we know is not all that good for you. The white bread, the white rice, the pastas, all of those things that science have been able to tell us over the years that they are not the best things for our health and things that lead us to health issues later on in life. And the third thing on the list here is the thing called a time restriction. And that's the sort of thing that is quite popular these days in terms of intermittent fasting, where we say that we'll eat between certain hours and fast the rest of the time, knowing that that'll help our bodies digest, process, and manage the energy loads and energy requirements that we need throughout the day. So we have time windows where we eat and where we don't eat. And as I said, there are pros and cons to each one of these three restrictions. Each person needs to try and identify what's the best mix of the three in order to get the best outcomes. But one thing for sure and for certain is that we need to eat less as we get older, and we need to eat more of the foods that are nutritionally dense and good for us, and try and eliminate where possible all of those foods that are taxing and draining on our bodies, our system, and our health. So something to think about, something to try and incorporate into our daily life and regimen. The last point on this list, once again, it's all very, very simple. Very, very simple. And by being simple, that's probably why it can be very, very effective. The last thing we need to do is to track, where possible, our sleep and our rest. Track it for a week to see if you need to change anything. Because what we ideally need in order to live a healthy and a quality lifestyle from a health perspective is to sleep well and to engage and to enjoy deep sleep, deep uninterrupted sleep on a regular basis. Something that I think many of us struggle to do. I know myself, over the past 25 years, I haven't slept more than 4 or 5 hours a night. I'm not an 8-hour a night sleeper, and hence why I enjoy having a YouTube channel entitled Jim's 5am Club, because I am an early riser. So in order to be able to track your sleep, according to Peter, the author of this wonderful book, you probably need a thing called a sleep tracker, where you can just pop it on and it will monitor your movements and how deep and how effectively you are sleeping. And to note that there are things that impact our sleep. Of course, there is stress, anxiety, worry, depression, but there are also substances that we abuse that impact or can impact our sleep. I know that doesn't work the same for everybody. I know people who can drink a cup of coffee before they go to bed, but generally for most people, coffee, alcohol, blue screen light are the sorts of things that interrupt our ability to relax and to get a good night's sleep. And so the suggestion here by this author is to try and cut down on your caffeine, your alcohol, your blue screen light, things that stress you in your life. Try and not have any screen time late at night. And he says that in terms of a huge impact on your health and longevity, he sees and he regards that sleep is probably the most important of all the health pillars for your longevity and health. So once again, a beautiful day, a beautiful location, a beautiful message, and like everything that we try and put forward here on Jim's 5am Club is that we try and incorporate, we try and live, learn and pass it on, incorporate these learnings, this OPE, other people's experience, into our own lives, rather than trying to learn everything, rather than try and build and rebuild the wheel, we learn from those who are experts in their field, people who have dedicated their whole lives to studying longevity, and learn from the experts, learn from them, take advice from them, rather than taking advice from the newspapers, the media, the major corporations, the advertising, and all of those people who are constantly trying to seduce us with their products, which are not all that good for us, as we know, and won't lead us or get us to where ideally we want to go. The last point that I want to make today is to also acknowledge the fact that many of the things that we learnt over the weekend at Anthony Robbins, we already have in our cultures, we already have in our lives. I, for example, am Greek Orthodox, I'm Greek, and I have a lot of these building blocks already embedded in the culture that has been handed to me from my parents. For example, Anthony Robbins talks about priming, the importance of priming and gratitude. But for a Greek Orthodox Christian, every day you wake up with gratitude. You wake up and pray and visualize the people that you love and to say thanks to the Lord for all of those things that have come into your life. You forgive yourself, you forgive others, you seek forgiveness, you offer forgiveness. We also have the beauty of fasting within the Greek Orthodox context, where every Wednesday and Friday is a fast day, where you are called to, invited to eat less and to restrict your diet to just vegan input, water, vegetables, nuts, fruit, and just have one simple meal on those days to once again commemorate and celebrate your religion, your belief in God, and in remembrance of Good Friday, which is the Friday fast, where Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and also Wednesday, which is designated the day where Judas betrayed Jesus. And there are many other fasts throughout the year as well. There's one for Easter, which is in excess of 50 days. There's one at Christmas. There's one in August, which celebrates the Transfiguration, and also the passing of the Mother of God, the Virgin Mary. So half of the year for a Christian, for a Greek Orthodox Christian, is celebrated in a fasting state, where you limit what you eat throughout the week, but you also limit it for weeks on end. And all of these things are part of this thing called the Mediterranean diet. A lot of people think the Mediterranean diet is you just eat olive oil and have greens and salads and that, but it's more than that. The Mediterranean diet is also fused and inextricably intertwined with faith, with religion, with fasting, with prayer, with priming, with forgiveness, with love, with humility, and through service to one another, loving God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and also loving one another as you love yourself, noting that you first need to love yourself in order to be able to love others and to express God's love, knowing that we're going to let each other down every single day, knowing that we're going to let ourselves down, others down, but to know that we are work in progress. We are worthy. We just need to believe in the process. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to believe in God's providence and to do good every single day of our lives, and to know that we've got ups and downs. We've got seasons, as Anthony Robbins said. We've got the 4 seasons: winter, summer, spring, autumn. We've got chapters. We've got phases of our lives, and we need to meet others where they're at rather than where we're at. So once again, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, a YouTube channel that I've put together back in the days of COVID, where I just asked myself, what can I do to be productive during these times of suffering, during these times of uncertainty? And what I came up with was to sit down every morning, to get up every day and to share my life experiences, to share book summaries where I can take other people's experiences and overlay it with my own experiences. As I say, given now that I've gone and done well over 1,600 vlogs and well over 1,000 book summaries, I'm able to take other people's material, other people's books, and complement it and supplement it with other learnings that I've been able to take from other books, and just to give a holistic sort of approach to learning where we can embody it, use it, and make the most of it. So once again, thank you. Wishing everybody a fantastic Wednesday and good progress on their 10-day, 30-day challenge, and hopefully we can keep abreast of each other's growth and development. We can be partners in each other's growth and development, and to continue to invest in ourselves, in our education, in our growth, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and financially as well, potentially, hopefully, and to live a good quality life where we serve each other, we serve God, and we do what is right at that particular point in time. Take care, yasas, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.